heartbeat, soft, rhythmic, familiar. Then a pause, another, and then silence. They say that's the end, the closing curtain, the last page, but what if they're wrong? What if the moment your breath leaves your body is not the end of your story, but the beginning of its remembering? Theosophy doesn't ask you to believe. It invites you to listen to what begins after everything else stops. Because when the heart is still, something else awakens. Not in the body, not in the brain, but in the space between lifetimes where time itself unravels. When the heart stops, what begins? Is it darkness, oblivion, or is it a door? A veil thin as breath, parting. We prepare for everything in life. Birth, work, love, even retirement. But who prepares for death? We fear it, we avoid it. We push it to the edges of conversation. And yet it waits silently, patiently. Not as an enemy, but as a mirror. Theosophy calls death not destruction, but transition. A step in a longer journey. A necessary return. A change of clothing for the soul. What dies is the vessel. What continues is the traveler. The essence of who you are, your thoughts, your memories, your longings, your love. They don't vanish. They unfold. Not in a cloud of fantasy, but through layers of subtle realms mapped by mystics for thousands of years. To the Theosophist, death is not to be feared. It is to be understood. Because if you understand death, you understand life. Its meaning, its urgency, its sacred rhythm. You may not remember where you came from, but your soul does. And in that final breath, when everything you built fades into silence, the soul steps forward and takes the next step. Not into nothingness, but into memory, into light, into truth. So before we speak of heavens or afterlives, before we decode karma or rebirth, pause. Listen to this moment, this silence. Because somewhere beyond the noise of the world, beneath the fear, beneath the questions, there is something waiting to be felt. A truth too vast for words, too soft for noise, too ancient to be forgotten. You are more than this body. You are more than this lifetime. And death is not the end of you. It is the beginning of remembering who you are. To the Theosophist, death is not destruction, it is release. Not darkness, but passage, not forgetting, but remembering. You are not your body. You never were. This body, the skin, the bones, the heartbeat, time is a garment. A vessel borrowed for a time to carry the soul through its earthly lessons. When death comes, it does not end the journey. It merely signals a change of vehicle. The first veil to fall is the physical. The body grows still, eyes dim, breath stops. But the traveler continues. The soul begins to separate from the flesh like steam rising from water. It moves gently, silently, detaching from the dense form it once animated. And yet, this transition is not chaotic. It follows a law, an order known to sages for millennia. Helena Blavatsky, drawing from Eastern wisdom and the teachings of the Mahatmas, described this moment as sacred, as precise, as luminous. She spoke of the three bodies, the physical, the astral, and the mental, each one more subtle than the last, each one a sheath around the eternal spark, the monad, the divine self. At death, the physical body is left behind, but the astral, the emotional body, lingers. The person may feel confused at first, not fully aware that death has occurred, because the consciousness continues. Thoughts persist, emotions rise, memories remain. Why? Because of the silver cord. The ancient texts call it the sutratma, the thread of the soul. This cord connects the physical and astral bodies. It holds the link between the waking world and the inner worlds. And when it is severed, death becomes irreversible. It is this cord that stretches between worlds during near-death experiences. This cord that holds the dreamer to the body at night. And this cord that finally dissolves when the soul is ready to move on. But what moves? Not the ego, not the personality. What moves is the core of you, the essence, the quiet witness behind your thoughts and desires. In Theosophy, consciousness is not a product of the brain. It is prior to it. The brain is the receiver, not the source. So when the brain shuts down, the consciousness simply shifts its focus, like a light beam changing direction. This is why so many across cultures have spoken of tunnels, lights, reunions, and life reviews. Because beneath all religions lies a pattern, a perennial science, an occult map of the soul's return. Blavatsky said that death is the most misunderstood of all events, not because it is unknowable, but because we refuse to look deeper. But those who have looked, the mystics, the initiates, the silent watchers, they speak of continuity. They speak of laws more exact than physics, laws that govern the soul as surely as gravity governs the body. And among these laws is one great truth. What you take with you is not your name nor your wealth, but your consciousness, your intentions, your inner state. When you die, you don't suddenly become enlightened. You become more purely yourself. The masks fall, the roles vanish, and the soul faces the mirror. In that mirror, you see not your face but your vibration, not your past but your becoming. This is not a punishment, it is clarity. A sacred moment of recognition, and it is only the beginning, because beyond the physical and astral, there is more. There are realms of thought, of memory, of spiritual rest and renewal. There is Devachan, the land of the god, where the soul dreams in light, nourishes itself on the harvest of its good deeds, and prepares Gyrt to return again. But we will speak of that soon. For now, what matters is this. Death is not a wall, it is a window, not an end, but a return to the continuum of spirit. Theosophy teaches that you are immortal, not as belief, but as experience. And one day you will remember. So, what happens next? When the body is gone and the silver cord is severed, where does the soul go? Not into oblivion, not into fire or punishment, but into a journey, subtle, layered, luminous, guided not by gods with scales, but by the vibration of your own consciousness. Theosophy speaks of a map, not of places, but of states, not of judgment, but of reflection, release, and return. The first threshold is called Kama-loka. Kama-loka, the realm of echoes. Kame means desire. Loka means plane or world. This is the realm of unresolved emotion, the mirror of the astral world, where thoughts and feelings still linger, but the body is no longer there to act them out. Here, the soul does not face an angry deity. It faces its own shadows, its unmet longings, its unfinished attachments, its refused truths. Here, the soul faces the echoes of its desires, the unfinished longings. If you clung to the material, you will feel the absence of touch. If you lived for power, you will feel the weight of having none. If you lived in fear, you may now walk through its fog. But this is not hell. There is no fire here, only reflection. Kama-loka is not punishment, it is purification, a peeling away of illusion, a space between lifetimes where you see yourself from the inside out. And when the soul has released its clinging, when it no longer hungers for what is gone, it moves naturally to the next stage. The life review, not judgment but clarity. This is one of the most whispered truths across all spiritual traditions. A moment when your life plays before you, not as memory, but as energy. Not what you did, but what you became. You will feel the impact of every word, every act of kindness, every wound you gave, and every moment of love, from the other person's perspective. Not judgment, but reflection. You don't stand before a throne, you stand within yourself. And in this inner chamber, nothing is hidden, not to punish you, but to free you. You see your life not through the lens of ego, but of essence, and this too passes. Devachan, the resting heaven of the soul. Then comes silence, then comes light, then comes Devachan, the land of the gods. But this is not the heaven of pearly gates. It is not ruled by dogma or doctrine. It is shaped by you, by your consciousness, by your aspirations, by your spiritual longings. A dream of the soul, a heaven shaped by consciousness. Here, you are surrounded by the highest parts of yourself, your noblest visions, your dearest companions in their essence, your unfinished ideals fulfilled in radiant symbolism. It is said that time in Devachan is unlike time on earth. It expands to meet the soul's needs. Years may pass in this realm, though to the soul, it is a moment or a gentle eternity. Devachan is not the reward, it is the restoration. a sacred interlude where the soul regathers strength and digests the meaning of its last incarnation. No pain enters here, only the light of your higher mind, the essence of what was real and pure in your journey. This is the soul's home between worlds, but even this is not the end. The return, the spiral of rebirth, when the soul has rested, when it has integrated what was learned, and when its inner call begins again, the cycle resumes, but not as a circle, not as repetition. When the spirit has learned, it returns, not in a circle but in a spiral. Each life is a step forward, a deepening, a refining, a return to earth, not to begin again but to continue. Karma pulls, the soul responds, the new incarnation begins. And what is chosen is not random, it is law, it is echo, it is rhythm. The circumstances of your next life, your family, your challenges, your strengths, are drawn magnetically to what your soul still needs to learn. This is not fate, this is freedom, a freedom earned through recognition. The soul is not punished into new lives, it is drawn by love, by longing, by the eternal urge to awaken. Even your suffering has purpose, even your joy is sacred. And when you return changed. The infant in the crib does not remember this journey in words, but in silence, in temperament, in gaze, in the subtle instincts of the spirit. And so the dance continues. Birth, death, rest, return, not mechanical, not meaningless, but sacred. Deliberate, endlessly evolving. The soul's journey, a sacred continuum. So what happens after you die? You remember, you release, you rest, you return. And through it all you remain. The same spark that has watched through centuries, through temples, through pain, through wonder. You are not a creature trying to become divine. You are the divine remembering itself through form. This is the vision of death not as a door closing, but as a path unfolding. It is not a tragedy, it is a rhythm, the oldest rhythm in the cosmos. What if death is not the enemy? What if it's a mirror, not of your face but of your choices, not of your body but of your being? What if every moment you live now is the clay from which your eternity is shaped? What if what awaits you is not something foreign, but something you are creating right now, with your thoughts, your intentions, your silence, your service? They say we fear death because we have not yet learned how to live, but maybe it's the opposite. Maybe we begin to truly live only when we make peace with the fact that we will die. Because from that moment, everything matters. Your words matter, your gestures matter. The way you breathe, the way you listen, the way you carry your soul in this fleeting world, it all matters. If your soul lives beyond this life, what are you feeding it now? Are you feeding it with bitterness, with distraction, with noise? Or are you nourishing it with silence, with meaning, with moments of awe? We spend so much time curating our lives, organizing, managing, comparing. But how often do we ask the only question that truly matters? What am I becoming? Because in the moment of death, you don't take your schedule. You don't take your bank account. You don't even take your name. You take your state. You take your essence. You take whatever you have built within. Are you living as if your actions echo beyond the grave? Are you aware that the seeds you plant in thought and feeling don't vanish? They germinate in the invisible soil of your destiny. That every act of kindness is a thread in your future body of light. That every moment of presence is a bridge between worlds. We say, I'm too busy, too tired, too distracted to meditate, to serve, to go inward. But you are building your next home, now. Devachan is not chosen at random. It reflects the light you generate now. Kama-loka is not imposed. It is the echo of the chords you play daily in thought and emotion. You are shaping your afterlife not by faith, but by vibration. Are you preparing for death or sleepwalking toward it? You see, death is not sudden. It begins now. It is already happening. With every moment you ignore the soul and every moment you honor it. Theosophy teaches that preparation for death is not about rituals or dogma. It's about alignment, living as if the eternal is already here. Because it is. Every breath is a whisper from eternity. Every silence is a doorway. Every challenge is an invitation to rise above reaction, to turn experience into wisdom. So how do you live as if your soul is real? You start small. You wake up with presence, you speak with care, you listen with depth, you walk slower. You breathe with intention. You observe your thoughts, not to control them, but to understand them. You serve, not to be seen, but because the act of giving expands the soul's radiance. You forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You let go, not of responsibility, but of the illusions you've worn for too long. You let silence become your teacher. You let stillness rebuild you. Because in the end, the real question is not what happens after death, but rather what happens before it. And are you awake enough to live it fully? Are you cultivating a presence that will walk with you beyond the veil? Are you building an inner light strong enough to guide you when the world around you fades? Because there will come a moment, silent, sacred, when everything external dissolves. Your body will not answer, your phone will not ring, your name will fall silent. And in that moment, what remains is you, just you, your vibration, your love, your truth, your light. And it is that light that will guide the way forward. So live now as if preparing for that sacred transition. Not in fear, but in clarity, in courage, in grace. Live now as if the soul is watching, because it is. Live as if each act is eternal, because it echoes. Live as if silence is sacred, because it reveals. Live as if love matters more than being right, because it endures. Live as if every ordinary moment is actually a holy rehearsal for eternity, because maybe it is. There is a door, not made of wood, not of stone, but of silence. It does not open with a key, but with surrender. It does not respond to fear, but to remembrance. It waits at the edge of every life, the final breath, the last heartbeat, the moment when everything you've known falls away. But beyond that moment, something remains. Not ashes, not endings, but essence. The you that never began, the you that cannot be lost, the you that watches even now. Death is not the end of you. It is the return to you. You were never just flesh. You were never just name or role or story. You are the one who wears the story. You are the stillness behind the storm, the light within the labyrinth. You are not flesh becoming soul. You are soul wearing flesh. And when that flesh falls, you do not vanish. You wake up, like someone rising from a long dream. And in that moment, there is no fear, only clarity, only silence, only the truth that you had always sensed but never quite dared to say out loud, that you are eternal, that life is a lesson, that love is the only thing you carry beyond the grave. So live now, not in denial of death, but in alignment with it. Let death be your mirror. Let it remind you of the beauty of this moment, the breath you're taking now, the chance to speak kindly, the chance to grow, to serve, to remember. Because one day you will take your final step, and in that step you will not fall. You will rise, and the world will fade like a shadow at sunrise. And the self, the ancient self, will stand at the threshold, and it will not ask, how much did you earn? Or how many followed you? Or what did the world call you? It will ask only, did you remember? Did you awaken? Did you love? And the day you die will only be the day you remember. So before that day comes, choose to remember now. Choose presence, choose silence. Choose the life that aligns with your soul, not with the noise. Because everything you do in the light of that remembrance is sacred. And everything you are becoming is eternal. Subscribe, reflect, share, live as if the soul is eternal. Because maybe it is.